Buenas tardes. Una vez más, con más energía. Buenas tardes. There we go. I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. I have to start off by thanking Dante Fox and Martha for giving me the honor to speak here. And I will say that this is my first time in Lyon, but given how perfect and warm the weather has been, and the hospitality displayed by everybody out here, all the attachés, all the organizing committee, I certainly hope I'll be back. So thank you for everything. So let's get into it, okay? So you heard from a lot of the speakers today about the technological changes that are coming about and the disruptions that are going to happen. My talk today is about reinventing your business to imagine the business of tomorrow. But you can very easily substitute the word business with community, with family, with people, and yourself. Because unless you take the time to understand and adapt to these changes, it's very hard to move forward. Because you will see that I will quantify all the changes that people have talked about and tell you what it's worth in hard dollars. Okay? And there's a lot of money, a lot of value creation at stake. But the question, as Ramesh asked, is, are you in a place where you can share in that value creation? Will Mexico be able to share in that value creation? Will your community be able to share in that value creation? Will your business be able to adapt to this change? That's the discussion we're going to have. Okay, that makes sense? All right, let's get into it. So first, there we go. In this hyper-connected, interconnected world today, the changes that you've talked about, every one of them by themselves is profound. But when they combine and come together, that's when change starts to happen on a completely macroeconomic scale. When I talk about macroeconomic scale, I want you to think about a complete reordering of business systems. In the past, it took about 20 to 25 years for a company to get to the Fortune 500. Okay? They also stayed in the Fortune 500 for about 30 to 40 years once they got there. Now, small businesses are coming up. You've seen the digital examples, and they get to the Fortune 500 in 4 to 5 years. The average time for a company to stay in the Fortune 500 has fallen by 60%, which means companies that have been around for hundreds of years, dozens of years in the Fortune 500 are falling off. And that's because they can't adapt to the change. Let me give you some numbers. By 2020, 50% of the global 2,000 companies are going to see their business being influenced or enhanced by digital. 50%, okay? In just 3 more years, the total spending on digital initiatives will total $2.2 trillion. That's more than the economy of Mexico today, okay? And by 2025, the impact of all the digital changes that you heard over the last 2 days will total $100 trillion. That is 5 times the size of the US economy. The only question is, who is going to capture this value that is being created? And how can you ensure that you are well positioned to capture this change? So what I'm going to do is talk about some of these changes. I will walk through every one of them. I'm going to tell you what AT&T is doing, and I want you to think on every change. What are you doing? What is your company doing? What are you doing for your community? What are you doing for your workforce? And also, what are you doing to reinvent yourself? Because this starts personally with yourself. That change has to come from within. So if you leave today's conference making sure that you are resolved to do something, don't leave the conference saying, oh, that was an interesting 2 days, now I'll go back and do my job the way I used to. Don't let that happen. That'll be 2 days wasted, okay? So let's commit to that change. First, let's talk about global mobility. Virtually everybody on this planet is on the verge of being connected right now. Even in places like Africa and India, which have been lagging in the mobile revolution, are reaching 80% penetration, okay? As people are going mobile, they want to take their data with them. They want their applications with them. So the applications are moving into the cloud, okay? the cloud is becoming more and more pervasive wherever you go. And because the cloud is becoming so pervasive, there's a tremendous demand for applications that run every aspect of your life. And software as a service is starting to take over a lot of the business functions. You heard Ramesh talk about this. You heard Thomas Friedman talk about this. But it's not just about software and people, it's about things. You heard the gentleman from Siemens talk about the fact that machine to machine, or the Internet of Things, is actually bridging the physical world with the digital world. And that has both implications from the perspective of profoundly changing society, but also a lot of downsides if you don't manage the security that comes from that. And all of these changes are leading to a proliferation of data. In fact, 2.5 quintillion bytes of data have been created in the last minute since we talked. In the last 2 years, more data has been created than all of human existence from the beginning of time until now. In the last minute, there have been 4 million YouTube videos watched, 500,000 tweets, and Amazon sold $250,000 worth of goods to all of us. Okay? Some of you might even be shopping right now for all I know. Okay? Finally, trust. If you do not find a way to manage how your data flows and keep that data secure, you will not establish the trust or the ability to move society forward. I mean, imagine what is going on today. In India, 1.2 billion citizens have their entire biometric data that is stored in a database called UIDAI. It's the largest biometric database in the world. And on one hand, it's a source for tremendous good. How do you give subsidies without corruption along the way? Okay? How do you establish mobile payment without identity? How to take poor people who don't have land records? On the other hand, imagine a breach of that database. 1.2 billion identities right now completely digitized. So let's move ahead and talk about each of these trends. Let's first talk about global mobility. One of the things I want to focus on out here is what can mobility do for you? Okay? If you think about mobility, we are in a world where we are able to get the information, commerce, transactions you want right now. And this connectivity is essential for competitiveness. Without connectivity, both mobile and wired, you cannot compete in a world in which information is the basis for competition. One of the things we are doing in Mexico is to make sure we're investing out here to bring mobility on a global scale with a global competitiveness. Today, AT&T has 4G LTE networking, extremely fast, same standards and qualities as the United States, available to 88 million Mexicans. And in fact, because of our entry into Mexico now, Mexico's internet availability has surpassed the United Kingdom in just 3 years after entry. Now the question is, what do you do with this mobility? It's not enough just to build the infrastructure. You have to change the way your workforce and human capital develops on this mobility. It's about how you use that mobility to change your community. How do you use that mobility to change your business? How do you use that mobility to do the kind of profound good that Ramesh talked about? Okay? I believe that there are two paradigms when you look at the future. There's the paradigm of Superman or Superwoman, okay, where somebody is naturally powerful. And then there's the paradigm of Iron Man or Iron Woman, where you can take augmented technology and make a human being powerful. I'm a huge believer that all of the technology that we're seeing out here can be used for good, can be used to empower individuals, can be used to allow them to move forward, provided you take the time to help them understand it, provided you take the time to invest in the human capital of your country, of your community. And we're not going to stop here in Mexico. In just 3 more months, we are going to be building out a machine-to-machine, low-power LTE network, which will cover all of Mexico. That's only 6 months after we completed our machine-to-machine network in the United States. So we have Mexico right now on the leading edge of this infrastructure. But the networks don't stop here. It's about the cloud. 85% of all of businesses today are looking at clouds or multiple clouds. But without the network, there is no cloud. How do you do that? How do you access? So one of the things we are doing at AT&T is building networking connectivity into the cloud so our enterprises can attach privately to the cloud with a click of a button on a digital interface. Ask yourself, what project might exist in your company to migrate to the cloud? Do you have the right networking to get to that cloud? Does your community utilize cloud resources? Now, yesterday, Thomas Friedman talked about the Khan Academy. AT&T is a big contributor to the Khan Academy. I can tell you something. My wife tutors disadvantaged kids in Dallas. And while all of these resources are available, 90% of those children don't even know they're available. So yes, it might be there, but who is going to take the time to educate these citizens of tomorrow? That's one thing I want you to think about as you think about cloud resources. How do you make them accessible to your communities? How do you make them accessible to your workforce? Who guides them in actually accessing these technologies? That's one of the things that we are investing on for our own company. I think you heard Thomas Friedman say that. Today we have over 100,000 AT&T employees who are reskilling themselves for this world in which global, mobile, big data is going to be what drives the future. They have, between them, taken over 2.6 million courses. We have over 500 AT&T employees enrolled in an online master's degree at Georgia Tech. Over 50 who are getting master's degrees in data science at the University of Oklahoma. These are all specially designed, not full college degrees, but college degrees required to be a specialist in a particular area, of the sort that Presidente Fox was talking about earlier. How do you get the skills to the employees? You must think about what you're doing for your employees along these dimensions. When you think about software, I think you've heard the paradigm from Andreessen Horowitz, software is eating the world. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What is it going to do to your business? You saw what Ramesh said, right? The 4 largest companies in transportation, in hospitality, in content, okay, don't own any physical assets. Ask yourself, what business are you in? Is that business under threat? Do you have software competency in that particular area? And it doesn't matter what your business is. Every company must have the skills in software to be able to compete as we go forward, okay? At a minimum, make sure that your communities have access to understand what can be done with software. And it doesn't stop there. When you look ahead, this is leading to embedded intelligence inside of physical areas. We are expecting 80 billion connected devices by 2025. And it's going to transform the way cities are run, cars drive themselves, how healthcare is administered. I think you heard yesterday, Lydia Fonseca from Quest Diagnostic talk about what they're doing for personal health management, asset management, how you manage your fleets, how do you manage wearables. I have a wearable on. I bet many of you have that wearable on. Connected homes, retail, and yesterday, of course, at the Fiesta, we had the drones driving all over us. The question is, how do you deal with the massive amount of data that these devices are generating? And one of the things I want to talk to you about is you can pave the infrastructure of networking. You can pave the infrastructure of cloud. You have to build the infrastructure of human capital, but you also have to unleash the imagination of the mind to say what is possible. Let me give you a quick example of what is possible when these technologies operate together. I want to show you a visualization of what we're doing in Miami, and you'll hear the politicians from Miami talk about what we're doing for them as well.
Why create a smart city? Well, smart cities are more responsive to citizens, and they help reduce environmental impact.
They're more cost-effective, and they're safer.
Smart cities make people happier and more connected to their community. But also, we want to be on the cutting edge. I'm a big believer that technology can help save lives, make us more efficient, and deliver a better quality of life for our children and our grandchildren. This is a vast, vibrant region with many complex challenges. Well, we partner with AT&T because they've been a leader in technology for over a century, and that's what Miami's about. When you have data, you have to understand what the data means. Without the analytical aspect of it, it really becomes useless. And so smart city technology will allow us to actually solve the problem instead of just what the symptoms of a problem are. And that's why we chose AT&T.
Our population is growing, and we need to leverage technology to help improve livability. AT&T is supporting our efforts by providing insight and technologies, and that helps us be more efficient and more responsive. We've installed traffic monitoring cameras with smart signals. It allows us to manage traffic flow by modifying signal timing in real time. Our goal is to have this technology available along every corridor in Miami-Dade County.
Your quality of life is never going to be good unless you feel safe. First, we retrofitted our conventional lighting system with a smart LED lighting platform, which provides much greater safety for our residents. Next, we chose an area that had public safety challenges, and we installed cloud-based technology management platforms so police could access footage from security cameras from anywhere. The key to the system is AT&T's LTE mobility network, which lets us stream all of the security footage, which would be very difficult without AT&T's LTE network. Real-time monitoring, along with these lighting upgrades, go a long way toward making people feel safer in their homes and throughout the county.
We have to get everybody connected. We're putting free Wi-Fi in our community centers because it's important for young kids to have access to technology, because then they're going to be much more competitive in the future, and that's what we want to do for all the kids here in Miami-Dade. It's a great partnership between AT&T and Miami-Dade County. That's what a smart city is all about.
Just in that video, you can imagine the possibilities of what happens when mobility, cloud, Internet of Things start working together. But this is only possible through imagination. And that imagination sits with the people who are running the companies, the politicians who are running the different communities. Because at the end of the day, what we can provide is technology, but somebody has to put that technology together in a way that transforms your business, in a way that empowers your community, in a way that makes the community ready for the future. Those are things that we cannot do for you. Those are things that you have to rise up and understand and make sure that you're building into your communities, into your countries, into your companies, the capability of transformation and reinvention, which is the very theme of this conference, okay? And as you look ahead, this is the data I was talking about. Data is the new oil. We know Mexico has always been an oil-rich country. The question is, are you prepared for the oil of tomorrow? Okay? Because this data is a raw resource. You require the right tools to extract the insights, which is the real value that's going to generate all that money I talked about earlier. The question is, do we have in our communities, in our companies, in our countries, the literacy, the math capability, the big data analytics? We looked inside our own company, which has been around for 135 years, and we realized we don't have that competency. And we are so big that we could hire every single PhD from every single American university in this area, and we do not have enough people. So we decided to embark on a massive reskilling of our sales force. You heard Tom Friedman talk about this yesterday. Our pact with them was very simple. This gives you a tremendous amount of ability to reskill yourself, but it has to come from within. That motivation has to come from within. Every employee needs to make that decision. Are they going to sacrifice their evening, their weekend? Are they going to put in that extra time every day to reskill themselves? If you're willing to do that, we'll pay for your education. We will make it available for you. We have over 8,000 tracks available. 2.6 million courses taken, over 100,000 employees. And my simple I will posit to you is, if you make things available and you empower people, you will find them stepping up in ways that you never imagined. We've had a gentleman who's been around the company for 22 years, who's a field technician, who went and reskilled himself in the big data space over a period of a year and a half. He's now taking a master's degree at the University of Oklahoma in data analytics, and he is transferring over to the big data department in our company. If you had told me that 2 years ago, I would have said, not possible. Well, I'm so happy I'm wrong, okay? Because people have an amazing capability to reinvent themselves. People have an amazing capability to transform themselves. What you need to give them is opportunity and access. Show them what's possible. Give them that opportunity. Help them reimagine their life, their community, their business, and you will be amazed by what you unleash when you make this available. That's what we're seeing with our own employees in Mexico. Where does this all come together, though? If you do not find a way to build trust, you will find that a lot of these gains will be lost. We will not be able to move the economy forward, the company forward, if you cannot find a way to build security into this area. You can just see that today, besides all the value-generating area, crime is actually really big business, okay, in the digital economy. And today, ransomware has reached a point where we literally have criminals who write a very polite letter to you saying, we are going to attack you with ransomware. We will prevent that attack if you generate and deposit $50,000 in Bitcoin in this account. If you don't believe us, go check port 446 right now and you'll see it's under attack. But as soon as you wire the money, the attack will stop. If you don't, then we will take your entire company out. That's happening as we speak. It's getting to the point where this empowered self has even reached school children. Do you remember when you were in school and you had a test, and sometimes you say, oh, I'm not ready for this test, I'm going to pull the fire alarm? You know what kids do today? They can rent a denial of service attack to bring the school infrastructure down so the online test is not available. And you can rent that for $250. We've had high school kids bring their schools down to prevent taking a test today. So there are two sides to this technology. One is good, one is bad. The question is, which side are we going to fall on? How are we going to harness this? Very similar to what Ramesh was talking about earlier. What we're doing out here is we're building our security deeply into the network. The paradigm of yesterday was to detect the situation and then a lot of change, as you can see behind out there. Wow. We just had a part of the pavilion collapse in the background, so it's all good. Nobody was hurt from what I can see. We continue out here, and we'll bring this presentation to a close in just a second. What we're trying to do is build in predictive capabilities into the network. So you can, instead of detecting the change when it happens, you can actually see the attack as it's forming. Because of our network and the cloud connected, again, what leads to that massive attack can also lead to the ability to prevent and detect early, provided you're ready. By the way, this is a huge opportunity for your workforce as well. Cybercrime and cybersecurity is one of the hottest growing areas in the business right now. I see no reason why Mexico cannot be generating business in this particular area. Let's bring it all back together. If you think about the technologies we talked about, all of them, it's a tremendous option to rethink your every aspect of your operation. If you are a company that services, waste baskets, and you go and empty the waste baskets, why do you send a person to go check that to see if it's full? Have a sensor. When it's full, send the person out, okay? Think about your products. Do your products actually talk back to you? Can your products actually tell you how the products are performing? That's what the power of the Internet of Things does to you. If the product is not performing, call a technician yourself. Have the product call the technician and say, come service me, okay? And rethink customer experiences. The experience of summoning a cab in the past was a challenging area. Now you can pull out a smartphone, press a button, and have a cab ready for you. That's about rethinking your customer experiences. When you put all of these together, it's really about transforming your business. But it doesn't need to stop there. Think about what those operations are that transform your community. Think about the operations that you'll apply for your workforce, okay? And that's one of the things that we are doing here in Mexico. We have invested in the infrastructure by building a very powerful mobile network, which is now moving to the wireline area. We have almost 20,000 employees today in Mexico, up from 0 3 years ago. It's an amazing thing, and we find these to be most loyal, hardworking, and quality-conscious people that we've hired. We are delighted with our investment, and we're investing in that human capital. What we want to do now is ignite the imagination of Mexican entrepreneurs, Mexican software companies, businesses that can build upon the platforms that we talked about. There's a mobile platform, there's a cloud platform, there's an IoT or Internet of Things platform. The question is, what can you build upon that? So to essentially make that come true, we have started up this year an experience center in Mexico City, which will allow you to come in, and I hope many of you will take advantage of this. Reach out to the Mexico AT&T people, come visit the Experience Center, and take a look at what we are unleashing out here. Let me just play that for a second. That brings me to my conclusion. I believe the possibilities are endless. And the possibilities for Mexico are endless too. Creemos en Mexico. Gracias.